What's up, everybody? We're going to get right into this video after a really quick announcement. We got to talk about YouTube. Apparently, we're getting a little more popular, and because of that, we got a sponsor. Yeah, I know. Come on, it's just Jenny. It's Jenny Kyle. It's just Jenny Kyle. She didn't even give us any money. Jesus. Jenny Kyle's doing a Masquerade tribute hunt. You can find out more about it at mysteriouswritings.com. It's all for charity. There's like 6 different hunts. They're donating all the proceeds to St. Jude and a couple of other charities. The podcast donated a drawing from John Palancar. So if you sign up over there, you might win that. I know you guys don't like sponsors, but like we're getting more popular. It's probably going to happen. It's just the nature of the beast.
Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but for me, the beast doesn't include selling out. Garth, you know what I'm talking about, right?
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
I can't talk about it anymore. It's giving me a headache.
Here, take 2 of these.
Secret podcast.
Little, yellow, different.
All right, well then I guess we can get started. We don't really need an intro. Like everybody knows who you guys are, right? Like anybody who's watching this that doesn't know who you guys are needs medical attention.
So they live in my house.
Thank you both for coming on and talking to us today. Ben, we'll start with you. You've been posting a lot of photos recently, and a lot of them seem to have Joellen in them. And I think before you started posting these pictures, we didn't realize you guys sort of went out together and had adventures getting these sculptures photographed.
You know, I actually forgot that I had taken pictures of her on some of the shoots. And actually, my favorite filmmaker in the entire world is Alfred Hitchcock. And we know from 1928 or 9, when he did The Lodger, he was in every single movie that he ever made. And so Joellen is sort of like living that.
I live an Alfred Hitchcock existence.
Maybe Stan Lee would probably be a better, like Stan Lee's in all the Marvel movies, Joellen's in all the, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Stan Lee's in all the Marvel movies, right?
Or Stephen King, maybe. Stephen King, I think, does that.
But when I did the one of the Philharmonic Arc, Joellen was sitting in the theater, you know. I think it was Columbia University. Didn't they have a theater there or something?
I'm not sure where it was.
First, I thought it was City Center. I'm going to City Center tonight, so I'm going to check out the seats in the curtain. So Joellen was sitting there, and I guess I sort of forgot that she was there, and she should not have been in the picture. But luckily for us, I made a mistake. So she is in some of those photographs, and when I got involved with this again and went through my 61 contact sheets, I look with a loop. I go, oh my God, there's Joellen. I got to make this print. This is incredible.
You have 61 contact sheets for The Secret?
61 contact sheets, and I really can't remember. We didn't shoot everything with slide film, with color. We did shoot some. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that when I did the Henny Youngman at the Friars Club in New York, because Byron was a member at the Friars Club, we didn't have a lot of time. Henny said 30 minutes and that's it, So I think I said, Byron, let's just shoot the thing and with color, and we'll see what happens. You always can convert. And unfortunately, either I never got back the slide or I just don't know where they are. They might actually be behind Joellen on one of those shelves, because you have a lot of stuff up there.
Yeah, I'm learning Joellen never throws anything away.
That's right.
I thought I was pretty bad. She's actually worse than I am. And I reached out to Sandy a couple of times, Byron's wife, and she's looked through stuff and can't find it, cannot find it. And I think Bantam just either didn't give it back to me, or I just don't know where it is. I really can't tell you that. Maybe it's in one of the casts somewhere buried. I have no idea.
I can tell you why I went on the trips that were local in New York with Ben is because I know how to move the sculptures. because I could put them in different positions sometimes, just to give more variety.
A lot of people don't know how they were made. They're wire mesh and cloth, right?
Yeah, they're made out of cloth.
I mean, I think for the longest time we kind of thought that they were stiff, that they were sculpted out of something and then covered in cloth.
Well, they're kind of, they're pretty bendy.
Oh, every time you do that.
They're kind of bendy.
So Joellen has this class coming up where she teaches people how to make that chair that she just showed. And she has a promo for it. And she's like, she did just that in the promo. She's like, they're really bendy and you can't break them. And she just throws it on the ground. And I'm watching this and my jaw drops. Like, don't break the art.
I sold one because of that. I was in California and there was a gallery that I had some things in at Los Angeles. And a woman really liked one of the pieces that I had, which was a fox playing a Radivarius and a rabbit and a crow holding some grapes on a couch. It was about this big. And she said, oh, well, we live in earthquake country, so I probably shouldn't buy it. And I said, no, look, I threw it on the floor. I said, no, it doesn't break. And she bought it.
This makes me feel better because I have a Joellen statue. I have it's called Bird in the Hand, and it's legitimately like in a case right now. And this means I can take it out because I was worried that my dog would hit the bookshelf or something and it would fall and break. So it's in a case.
Dogs
now
like
I can take it out. Oh yeah, that's true.
They do. One nice dog named was not a Saluki. It might have been a Saluki. I was working on a doll head. This is many years ago off in Holton, Maine, way, way up in Maine. And this lovely Saluki brought me that I had been working on as a gift. Well, it wasn't a big deal. He was a nice dog.
Ben, if I might, I've been looking at a lot of your photos as well, not just the ones that you post for The Secret and stuff like that, but like just quite a bit of your portfolio, and a lot of it seems very incidental. Like, do you ever work with a team of people to set up a shot, or do you just like have that type of eye where you can just see an edge of a bridge that looks really beautiful in this sunlight and then you take a picture of it? Like, can you explain kind of your process there?
Sure. First of all, I work alone. I occasionally go out on walks with other photographers. I almost never get anything. When I go up by myself, and I'm a people person. I love being with people. But when I create my cityscapes, my water towers, I'm usually alone. It's just, I use a lot a long lens for my water towers and my cityscapes, because a lot of times, if I see a fire escape or a water tower and I'm right under it, I can't get the right angle I want. So I got to go back a block or two, at least. So I've got this lens that I use on an Olympus camera that's a 40 to 150, which actually translates to an 80 to 300. And so with a 300 millimeter lens, you could be pretty far away and get the right angle. But to me, New York is water towers and fire escapes. If you go see the new West Side Story movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about, because Steven Spielberg obviously he uses fire escapes because Maria and Tony sing on the fire escape. But a lot of Spielberg's early promos before he showed one scene from the movie was like da-da-da, da-da-da, and every shot was a water tower. I was like so thrilled. So, of course, I've tried to contact Steven Spielberg, but I have not been too successful at that.
Brett could probably help you.
Yeah.
They're friends.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Let me text him. I'm going to text him.
I know his sister because she's a documentary filmmaker and I've done some work with her, but I haven't spoken to her lately. But, I just roam the streets. I get up incredibly early in the morning. I get up at 5:30. If it's a summer, maybe a little later because the sun comes up a little later. And I'll hop on a subway, hop on a car, a bus, and go to a different neighborhood in New York City. It's a lot of fun. I always, I'll take pictures till about 8:39, and the sun gets too strong. I'll find a cafe to have a cappuccino and a croissant or two, maybe a chocolate croissant. Go home and then later in the day, I'll do the same thing. I do the same thing wherever I go. If I'm in Paris, and if I'm in Skopolis, Greece, which I've been shooting a lot lately, which is where they filmed the movie Mamma Mia. It's how I work. I'm not good with other people around me because they're actually too distracting. They go, come on, let's go. It's time to go. I'm like, I'll stay in a corner for an hour and a half to get the shot. I have a lot of patience, and you got to have a lot of patience to do the type of photography I have. The famous moonrise picture by Ansel Adams. He sat on top of a woody car in New Mexico for 12 and a half hours to get that moonrise. Okay, 12 and a half hours. If that's what it takes, I've had not have to do that, thank God. But there are certain times I get the shot and I'm not happy. I come back a few days later and shoot it again.
Where did you get that T-shirt?
My son and his partner actually just gave me the T-shirt. Yeah, isn't that cool? That was a Father's Day gift last year. Yeah.
So did you have to change your kind of work dynamic then when you were working on The Secret?
First of all, when I worked on The Secret, I was I was around 30 years old. Okay, I think I was married 1 year, still married to the same woman, Joellen. She knows her, and I didn't shoot like that at all. I didn't have a 300 millimeter lens. We shot film. Okay, so we really didn't. The difference between film and digital is the one thing is that with digital, you can see what you've got. With film, especially with color film, you really never knew. I mean, after a while, I sort of knew, but you never really knew until you got the film back. And that's why on some of the Secret photos, I have a contact sheet of where I might shoot the same sculpture in 36 exposures. I might shoot it like 3 different angles, but 7 or 8 different exposures just to get the right exposure. And that's how I shot The Secret. And I didn't know much about what I was shooting. Joellen, I knew a little bit more than I knew. I was handed these things and said, all right, go shoot it here, go shoot it there. And Joellen will tell you she had a list which I didn't even know about. Maybe I did know about it, but I don't remember.
Well, I
Didn't you have a list
of how they should be shot? I don't think. I had a list of which ones were completed and which ones I had to do. And
but I didn't even know the names of any of these sculptures when I shot them. Maybe a few of them, but not most of them.
So what was the extent of the two of you working together?
Well, the good thing is that I started doing the sculptures in New York City. So Joellen was able to go out with me, help me, set them up, change their form. Because, being soft sculptured and wire mesh, you can move them around. I do remember I usually carry duct tape with me. I don't carry duct tape anymore, but when I knew I was going to do this project, I said, duct tape might come in handy. And when we were on this Staten Island ferry shooting the Spirit of 76, we started out, I knew I wanted to get a shot sitting on the rail of the ferry, but I said, I'm not doing this the first shot because I don't want to lose that sculpture. So we shot the Spirit on one of the benches inside the ferry. I don't know if you guys ever been on a Staten Island ferry. It's the best ride there is. It's free now, it's amazing. It's free again. For a while they charged and they dropped it. And then at the very end, we went out to the back of the ferry, which was going towards Staten Island. And I wanted to get to the World Trade Center. And now in retrospect, that was a pretty important thing to get, I guess. I said, Joellen, duct tape. And she said, oh yeah, Ben, duct tape. So there's a lot of duct tape under the rear end of the Spirit of 76. And we did it quickly. I shot about maybe 12 exposures of that. And I was only happy with 2 or 3 of them. And I wanted the wake in the water to look like a certain way. And I was pretty lucky I got it just the way I wanted it. And that was it, really.
yeah, I was there mostly to say, don't be afraid. They're not fragile. Nothing can happen. Do whatever you need to do in order for it to work.
It's fine. They
Down on the
float.
ground.
I mean,
Wait, I needed that. Whoops.
yeah, I mean, we went to Central Park in the snow and we shot the Toronto, what's it called? The Toronto Dora. We shot that in Central Park. And then we went to Central Park where we shot the Woolly Bully. And there's an eagle sculpture about maybe 500 feet away from the bandshell at 72nd Street bandshell in Central Park. And we propped it up on the eagle. And the second shot, I could not remember where we shot that second Woolly Bully. I actually thought I shot that in Oyster Bay, Long Island, which is where Teddy Roosevelt had his house called Sagamore Hill. And I recommend a visit to that house. It's one of the most homey houses I've ever been in. It's an incredible house, great porch. And then a few weeks ago, somebody asked me where it was shot, and I really didn't know. And I put in Google, I put in Cannon Monument around New York City, Westchester, Long Island. And the minute the picture came up of the Cannon Monument in Katona, I said, that's it, Katona. And I used to go to Katona. I had a friend in Katona, but I'm not sure why I was there. But I put it on top of the cannon. And of course, they cropped out of the plaque. So I had the original, so the plaque is back in there now. It's hard to read some of the names, but if you go on Google, it has a list of all the names in that plaque.
So Byron didn't ever tell you where to shoot things.
When I went to Washington, hey, Byron, I'm going to Washington with Betsy. We're going to spend a weekend with some friends. You're going to Washington? Here, gave me the left and right wing, eagle, and I wrapped it up. We put it in a suitcase, and it was a carry-on. It was a carry-on suitcase. I didn't get stopped by anybody. He said, "I want you to try to shoot at the Washington Monument, the White House, and definitely the Capitol." The Washington Monument was a no. It just didn't work. It was too hot. The monument's so tall, it would have looked ridiculous. I would have had to spend 3-4 hours, and there were tourists all over the place. Went to the White House, and I remember there was a demonstration going on. It just didn't work. We took a cab because we were in a hurry, and we got to the Capitol, and it was pretty empty. I just put it on top of this wall. I shot it. A few people stopped and looked, and one guy asked me a question. I said, "Oh, it's for a book I'm doing for someone." And they said, "Okay," and they walked away. Could you imagine putting that sculpture on a wall at the Capitol now and not even getting arrested or shot or something? I mean, forget about it. I mean, Homeland Security would have had me so quickly.
So you're saying that you told him you were going on a trip. And then he said, what would be great is if you could shoot this in one of these three places or all of them.
All three, and anything else that you might think might be interesting. I had a pretty busy weekend with family and friends. We were doing a lot of things, and so I spent a couple of hours doing this. And then my wife said, "I think you got the shot," and I did. The Capitol. I mean, when you think about what's going on now, actually, I think of the three things. The Capitol is actually where it should have been. The Capitol is where all the laws are made.
That's where all the simps and the trogs go. And then they meld.
That figure is one of the ones that carries over to today the best. Like, its description is still spot on.
Absolutely. You know what, George? You know where would have been a good place to shoot that? There's a very famous hotel called the Mayflower Hotel. I should have taken it to the bar in the Mayflower Hotel. Because where do all these politicians hang out anyway? They hang out at the bar, right? Where it all gets done.
Just to take a step back, how did you get involved in all of this?
I used to sell my artwork out of a gallery on Madison Avenue called Julie Artisans Gallery, and it was very close to the offices of 21st Century Publications, which was it was Heavy Metal magazine, but it was also National Lampoon. And Byron might have seen the work in Julie's. I did some work for Heavy Metal. I can't remember what year that was, and for Playboy, and I don't know. So
I think Playboy was 1978. If I'm not, I think 78.
it might have been that. And then the person I was living with at the time was doing a cartoon in Heavy Metal, I think, called, I forget what it was called. Anyway, we did some cartoon work in Heavy Metal, and I did a cover. You shot the cover, Ben.
Yes. Yeah, I shot the cover. Yeah.
For Heavy Metal.
So you two, you knew each other before.
Oh, no, we didn't know you. I didn't know you yet.
No, but how did you get?
Well, Byron said he found this artist who's going to do these sculptures for the book, and then we had a meeting. And it was you, me. I don't know if you had the meeting with Sean Kelly and Ted Mann or not.
Well, I was in the offices with them once, but
yeah, you probably were there. And that's how we met. And I was really impressed with the work. I mean, Joellen showed at a gallery that was so amazing. I mean, I think Julie did you or someone used to make jackets for Elton John that exhibited there or something?
God, Elton John had about 10 of my pieces. Oh,
yeah.
A lot of celebrities would go in there. So I went, I'm Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Her stuff. I mean, when you see it live,
Mary Tyler Moore. I don't know. Demi Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Different people.
All
Yeah,
the Moores.
a lot of people.
Wow.
All the
Moores,
Moores.
right?
That's incredible.
Mostly comedians. Robin Williams. You have.
Oh, Robin Williams. You're right.
You like
Oh, that guy.
Joellen, did we do the Beach Boy book first?
Joellen worked on the Beach Boy book?
yeah.
Yeah, we did. Joellen did 2 or 3 pieces, sculptures for the Beach Boys.
That one was in 1979.
Okay, so that's it. We worked on the Beach Boy book, and we went up to a loft where someone had built a set, and Dennis Wilson was sitting on a crescent moon.
Yeah.
Oh, I have. And then there was one of a vegetable garden.
That was somebody else.
You didn't, but you did the sculptures.
No, I did not.
You did not do those sculptures.
Joellen, though. I think the sculptor was named Joellen, but it was a different Joellen.
Really? Okay.
It wasn't me.
But so we did work on that together first. I know we worked on Fritz Leiber, but that was after The Secret.
Oddly enough, John Palancar did the cover for that book too.
Yes.
Well, it makes sense. He was doing work for Byron, and John's very talented. So
it's just the amount of projects that all of you guys worked on together.
But that was a long time ago. You worked on a project and then you didn't. I was always making the doll figures for my living. So, in between, and that's why you asked me a question once if I had ever repurposed any of the dolls. The only one was the Playboy one, which was the portrait of Robert Morley turned into the Unreal Estate Broker. But there weren't any others that were repurposed.
So there weren't any that you had already made before the book that were used for the book?
Maybe the Toronto one, but I can't really remember. Because afterwards I would bring them to the gallery, and if anybody, I sold them. So I can't remember if I had already made it. But definitely the Robert Morley one was.
Which is brilliant.
Real estate broker.
So I guess sort of like with John Palancar's work, once he painted the painting, he got to keep the painting. So once you made the sculpture, you got to keep the sculpture. And then, so I'm guessing a lot of the secret sculptures just went up for sale in the gallery.
Exactly. They're out there.
Has anybody realized that they had one all these years later and contacted you and said, "You're never going to believe this, but I bought"?
No, some of them I gave away, they didn't be suitable for the gallery, so I gave them away. Some of them were just quick, like devil dogs and things like that. I couldn't really sell them, but they photographed well.
I've looked for one of these things for years. I've come close to being able to buy one.
I don't think they were signed.
Huh?
They probably weren't signed either.
That would make it harder. I think the only one I've ever seen come up for sale was the geodesic gnome. And
On
I was
eBay,
like
right?
a week late on that one.
Was that
Yeah,
on
on
eBay?
eBay.
Yeah, eBay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It sold for like $450 or something. I don't know.
Hey, listen, I had 15 copies. I had 15 copies of the book. Okay. I gave one to each of my sons, my sister-in-law. I gave one to a friend in San Francisco. And then I gave one to my wife's friend, an Italian woman who already was in her 80s. My wife had worked for her in Italy, and she passed away. And just a few months ago, I can't remember who it is, on George, on your Facebook page, somebody contacted me and said they have a book, and it's signed to Consuelo, all the best, Ben Asen. Okay. So Consuelo died. There were a couple of people in charge of her estate. I'm sure they said, "Oh, this book, let's sell it to a used bookstore or something." I don't know. It ends up in Florida. I mean, all these years later. So when the guy read me the inscription, in fact, he sent me a picture of the inscription. I go, "Oh my God, that's Betsy's friend Consuelo." That's what's so amazing about
This whole thing is what, and in light of that, what are both of your impressions of here we are 40 years later? Isn't this year the 40th year?
Yeah.
Yes, the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
You're on a Zoom call with with three crazy people that are scattered throughout the country talking to us about this project that you did all those years ago.
Can't we?
Is it, what is your impression of that?
Joellen, I'll let you.
It's bizarro land.
It is. Yeah, we live in that land.
Well, because, it was a job. It was a job. I was, 32 years old. I don't know. And that all I did was I made things day after day. I barely, luckily the gallery was like a block and a half from my house. So I'd put everything in a black garbage bag and bring it to the gallery and then take it out and you go, oh, So I had a very short, small existence. And if I didn't have a sister in Spain, I never would have gone anywhere. Now it's like, well, what do you mean? Somebody wants your, impression of, is this a cask or is this an actual piece?
It's pretty. I wrote this book off like the minute it was done.
We all did.
We all did. And, not that I was doing a lot of books. I wasn't doing a lot of books, but I just said, you kidding me? No way.
Well, I think it only sold like 10,000 copies, right? It didn't sell anything.
No, it was a failure. It was a failure as a book. It didn't look, it's, the new West Side Story is a failure. It made $11 million. It cost $125 million to make. So, it happens a lot. It happens a lot in book publishing. Happens all the time.
For context,
West Side Story.
there are more people in our Facebook group than copies that were sold. Now we surpassed,
Right. You have like 11, 12,000.
we surpassed 10,000 like a year ago or something like that. That's just people who have a Facebook page. And if you think worldwide about how popular this still is, this has to be mind-blowing for you guys for this. We think about this all day, every day still.
I don't throw anything out. So I came across all this stuff that has no useful, it's not going to help you at all. But I found something that I think was a description of the different images on the casks.
Can you hold it up? Hold it up and show it to us?
But you can't read it.
Why not?
Well, I think it is because it said Scandinavia was circled and it said key only on it. And it says trolls and or elves, very Viking, the elves tough. Maybe they row. That's what it said for. I mean,
That's really cool. Like that could
I
be
don't
a really
know how many
important document to the secret hunt.
well, I don't think so because that was just what was on the cask. That has nothing to do with
Oh,
finding.
we'll figure
things,
out a
I
way
don't
to make
think.
it work.
So each,
If you would like all of that archived, by the way,
I will put you in my will.
thank you.
So I meant was each of the different creatures on the cask were representing a different country. Like Scandinavia, the Celts, the Lowlands, England, France, Spain.
Yeah, we found that there are 12 figures on the cast. There's 12
Greece,
um,
China.
12 treasures. Each cask has the figure that represents that nation painted.
Yeah.
The rest of them are unpainted.
Okay, I didn't know that. I don't remember that.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the process of you and him collaborating on making these dolls, like the concepts for them and things?
Yes, I can. So, for example, the Toronto ogre. It said, I must have done it beforehand because it said Joellen's and then in quotes winter, and then with a beaver, like a mask rather than a horse mask. So I had already made that, and he told me that would be fine, but give it a beaver mask instead of a horse. It must have had a horse mask. Or the unreal estate broker, which I guess was the Playboy illustration. It said, I don't know, this might be politically incorrect. I don't know. Women who look like real estate agents. And there's more, but I'm not going there. Perched on a for sale sign. That's the end. And there, the Union Jack, I don't know. Pilgrim, female Puritan costume, reading from a black book, shaking finger admonishingly, perched on stocks. Well, we didn't do that. It was a wonderful shot with her holding up something to cover the genitals of a sculpture in Central Park at Columbus Circle. So that was one of my favorites, actually.
Did he ever describe the dolls like in and pardon me if dolls is a pejorative term, but did he ever describe the sculptures like in context of the treasure hunt part of the book? Like, did you ever talk about that at all?
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know. All I knew is that I had a job for a year with an advance, $1,500 advance, and I got to keep them when they were done.
Yeah.
So that's all. I didn't know anything at all about the treasure part.
So you didn't even really know what the project was, or sorry, you knew your.
Well, I knew what the project was, but I didn't know. Maybe I didn't care. I'm sorry to say that it was a treasure hunt. I'm really sorry about that. I had a life.
All right.
We don't have one.
I would like.
I want.
Yeah,
I,
I
want
want
I want mine back.
I guess too, that question could apply to Ben as well. Like when you were setting up for the shots and stuff, like did he ever, discuss the treasure hunt when it came to the shots you were taking?
Well, I went to Florida where I shot the Unreal Estate Broker because I was going to visit family with my wife. And I had an uncle. I said, I need a huge empty piece of land. Byron said, try to find a piece of land that's, there's nothing built on it. And at the time in 1981, there was a town called Kendall, which really wasn't a town. It was most famous for a place called Shorty's Ribs, which is still there, by the way, and the best barbecue there is. And I remember food more important to me. And he took me out there. It's actually south of the University of Miami, where my oldest son ended up going to college. And I took the sculpture in the chair. I found this fence. It said for sale. I just plopped it down. I don't think we were there for more than 30 minutes. Took the shot, then went to Shorty's ribs. And to me, that day was more important for me to get my ribs than shoot the unreal estate broker. But I have to say something about, for Joellen, you don't understand, as an artist, to be able to exhibit on Madison Avenue is a big deal. And she's not going to say that, but it's a big deal.
Well, it's my living. I didn't think any further than, oh, I can pay the rent.
This is what all artists strive for, is to have their work either exhibited in a museum, a gallery, but Madison Avenue, it's incredible, especially then.
Yeah, just how nonchalant Joellen's like, yeah, I designed things for Elton John.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Elton John, yeah.
You know, just Elton John.
I never met him. The only person I met was Jim, what's his name? Jim Henson. I had to make a portrait of his art director as a bird with a pith helmet and everything. It was, you know, at the time I was working for him, doing kind of slave labor. He said, well, how do you like working here? I said, I have a headache every night. It's not creative. He said, well, maybe you should work in London. He had a different, a film studio there, I guess. I said, that sounds good. And then he died.
Jim Henson wants me to fly to London. That's fine. Whatever.
No, he didn't. He just suggested maybe I wouldn't get a headache if I was doing something else. It didn't last. That job didn't last. But my husband, Andrew Wilner, when I went there for an interview, there was a great table there. It was 3 hands holding up the top of the table that went into little knees and then feet at the bottom. And I said, who made that table? And they told me, and then I forgot about it. And then I went to a party and I met this nice man, and he said, where do you work? I said, oh, I'm Henson Associates. He said, oh, you probably saw my work there. I went, you made the table. Well, he's my husband.
Oh, I never knew that. Oh, that's a great story. Wow.
So anyway, we didn't know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that seems to be sort of so there's the way the treasure hunters refer to this book, there's the front of the book and the back of the book. And the vast majority of the people that we've talked to about the back of the book have said, like, it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the treasure hunt. We really didn't know a whole lot about the treasure hunt. Some searchers still think that some searchers think that the treasure hunt's in the front of the book, but the key to solving the treasure hunt's in the back of the book. It's really kind of strange. So,
you know how many shots in total you took for The Secret?
Pardon?
Do you know how many shots in total you took for The Secret?
Well, I have 61 contact sheets. So it's got to be, I think it's probably a little more, because I noticed in some of the contact sheets, they're actually 2 different sculptures. So it's got to be, it's over 60. That I know for sure.
What is a contact sheet?
I happen to have a contact sheet here. Hold it. This is from a book I did for Byron. This is not a setup. This is a contact sheet. It might be hard to see because, hold on one second. Let me just get rid of my background for a second. Hold on. All right. Let's see. No background, right? Okay. George, how do I do this? Oh, none. Okay, here we go. So this is a contact sheet, okay? And actually, I showed this to George the other day. Right down here, there's a picture. Oops, let me get rid of this preference thing here. There's a picture down here. It's really hard to see. It's at the bottom of a bookstore. It's really hard to see, right, George? Yeah. But in that picture is Fritz Leiber, the science fiction writer, with a woman named Joellen Trilling and a designer whose name is Alex J, who is like a real mystery man right now. So
I'll put the picture up so everybody can see it, or Ben will. Somebody will.
Yeah, when you edit it down. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah. I sent it to Alex, and he was like, I remember Fritz. I'm not sure who the rest of the people are. I was like, well, that's Joellen. And
I didn't interact with a lot of people back then. I didn't really know. I didn't know a lot of people. So, job was the job, and what the people that I met, of course, Ben and I worked together, so a little bit.
Yeah.
You're kind of
Just
soft
one-offs.
spoken about your work, Joella, but Ben's right. Like, you having art on Madison Avenue is a big deal that most artists would scream from the rooftops about. And your personality, I guess you're just like, whatever. It's Madison Avenue.
Um, it was my job. I felt different about painting than I did about the dolls. So the dolls, I didn't mind making them, spending a month or a couple weeks on one, and then just letting it go. I didn't mind at all.
Right.
But somehow the paintings, I had an exhibit on 58th Street and Park Avenue, and the 2/3 of the paintings sold on the opening night. And I got so traumatized I couldn't pick up a brush for 10 years. It was so scary. That kind of success that it would. So it's
Your paintings they're amazing because they're like glimpses into nursery rhymes.
well,
Right?
they're all personal. They're all things that have happened to me, or but anthropomorphically expressed. So anyway, so that's why it was really fun to work on this book, because everything was sort of anthropomorphic. They were humans, but they were animals, but they were, humans, but they were fairies or ogres or something. So that was.
There were concepts, right? Like you were turning concepts into people and animals.
That was the easy part.
So so back
Yeah.
to your. So this thing happens for a year. It's work. You do it. Probably had fun. Moved on. Attention
Really?
goes away, right?
Yeah.
You guys start doing other stuff. So in the meantime, people are looking for casts, right? So in 83, I want to say the first one is found in Chicago. 2000.
Right.
That's what I was going to ask. So 2004, another one gets found. So like,
I knew that. I didn't know it was 1983.
and then
Wow.
yeah,
Chicago
so
was
right
founded in
away one
83.
gets found. So Byron's probably excited about that, and okay, good. So these are going to get found. So, but then, what is 2004? Like 20 years later from that, another one gets found in Cleveland. So that's number 2. Okay, and then a couple of years ago,
The internet.
So finally you can start hearing about this stuff. But did you? Ben, you said you knew about Cleveland. Did either of you find out about the Boston one recently, or do they contact you when these get found?
Yeah. What's his the guy? God. Well, no. Sandy called me because Sandy told me that she was going to be in a documentary or a TV show for. Was it the Discovery Channel? No. Yeah, right. Expedition. So I watched it, and there's Karen and Blair, and stuff. So that's how I really knew. I didn't know that one had been found. Sandy, she doesn't really think about it much at all. But she's very happy that it has a life. I mean, she said if Byron was alive, he'd say, let's do a secret too. I mean, that's the way he was. So
Would you guys be involved in a secret too?
What's that?
Would you be involved in a secret too?
I don't know. I have no comment on that. I really don't.
You need young people for that. Nice youth. You need youth.
Wait a minute. Wait. What? Don't say young people. Come on. We're seasoned pros.
Yeah, 70. I'm going to be 75 this year. I don't think so.
So what?
The John Michaels was the person and he wrote to me, and he was so sweet. And,
yeah.
Otherwise I would not have known anything. I didn't know about the first cast that was found. I didn't know about the next cast that was found. I did know about the Boston one because I had already been introduced to the fact that there were people looking for these treasures. Right. So I wouldn't have known anything if he hadn't contacted me.
JM had brought, he's the reason I'm sitting here right now.
Well, I wouldn't have known any of you either. I wouldn't have known, George. I wouldn't have known,
and then my other question is, why do you think it's been so long? Or wait, why have only 3 been found?
Maybe people aren't that smart. I don't know.
It's probably us.
I
like
really don't know. I mean, I have not read the book. Okay. I remember George Rapp once said, I never saw one of my movies. And I didn't believe him, but I've never read The Secret. I've read a couple of paragraphs here and there.
It's not good.
The
text is not good.
It's not like it's The Hobbit or Moby Dick, but
Right. Well,
No.
The art is amazing. The writing,
it's probably hard to write a
Yeah.
puzzle book too. I mean, especially if you haven't done that before.
well, I just, yeah.
You just wrote something, George, that was interesting about the possibility that Sean Kelly might have had something else in his head, earlier, and then maybe Byron combined.
So what they were doing, Sean Kelly wrote a book about, it was Fairies of Central Park, I believe is what it was called. And it was modeled after another book, which is, hang on. It's probably a book Joellen has.
Masquerade.
No. So that was what Byron modeled the treasure hunt after. What Sean Kelly modeled his was after A Field Guide to the Little People by Nancy Arrowsmith. So this book it's completely laid out the same way as The Secret. Each fairy in it's listed. It's got, their habitat, their identification, all of that. So Sean Kelly was basically writing a parody of this. And he called it the Fair People of Central Park, I believe is what it was called. But he couldn't get it published. And Byron sort of took it and packaged it with a treasure hunt. And that's how The Secret came to be.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That was interesting to read, actually.
Yeah. Have you ever seen this, Joellen? This is right up your alley.
No.
Field Guide to the Little People.
No,
Nancy Arrowsmith. I'll send you a copy.
Oh.
It is legitimately, like, the art's gorgeous. The descriptions of some of the descriptions of fairies seem almost like The Secret almost seems to just lift them right out of this book. So it's nice. I'll send you a copy.
Parodies,
Yeah. Especially like 80s satire parodies.
Oh, yeah.
Lifted whole cloth sometimes. So yeah, let's see.
I don't know what else to tell you, except I found another piece of paper that said, which ones should be male and which ones should be female. Like the Filthy Hobbit had to be male. Team Spirit had to be female. The Culture Vulture, female. Small Businessman, obviously male. So, those were information that Byron had given me that he wanted,
But he had some pretty strict parameters around these things then, hey? Like around the creation of the soft sculptures and stuff, or like he didn't just tell you make me one based on this name, right? It was
he didn't, but he didn't ever put any there were no there were parameters, but they were like 5 miles across.
Right.
Like if he gave me some kind of combination of what he had Xeroxed a whole book about fantastical creatures, like I don't know,
like gnomes and things like that.
Yeah, the mythological monsters. So he gave me all of that. It was about this thick. And so he would maybe tell me something like, obviously the Small Businessman. That was really easy. It was a small businessman.
Well, actually, it was based on a very famous malpractice attorney. And the Daily News would always have pictures of this guy running down the steps of 60 Center Street in Manhattan, which is actually the building they used in the opening credits of Law and Order.
Right. That's right. I recognize it.
But, I've gotten a lot of emails and messengers on Facebook from people that say to me, when you shot the small businessman when he's from the back going down the stairs, why didn't you get the World Trade Center in there? Didn't Byron want the World Trade Center in there? And I said, well, first of all, it was about the small businessman, and he never mentioned the World Trade Center. If I had gotten the World Trade Center in there, the small businessman wouldn't have been a small businessman. He would have been like a molecule in the photograph, okay? I mean, the small businessman was a cute little old guy with a hat and a cachet case. And
Do people contact you too a lot?
No,
they contact me. Well, they contact me more because I guess I was the photographer. Maybe I don't know. And maybe Joellen's harder to find. I think Joellen's actually harder to find.
I've gotten a couple of messages from people. I'm trying to remember where I got them. Maybe on my website. I respond to people because I don't have anything to tell them, but thank you for contacting me. I don't know.
I think before the podcast ever started, Rachel emailed Joellen
Yes.
to try to buy sculptures from The Secret, and I don't think we ever got a response.
I don't have anything. That's
that's probably why.
I've been looking and looking somewhere in this house. It's windy out. We just had we have like 4 inches of snow.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere I have the head of the Filthy Hobbit and the head of the Philharmonic Orc and the succubus. When I moved out of my apartment in New York, I couldn't carry all these things, so I decapitated them all, and I just kept the heads because I liked the heads. Somewhere in this house, but I haven't found them.
We've only got a collection of heads sitting in a box somewhere.
They're not small; they're big. Yeah.
So we were talking earlier about the small business maybe being based on a specific person, but none of the other sculptures were. Byron didn't give you make I don't know, Boogeyman for Miles Davis or whoever,
No, he didn't. The only thing that occasionally he did, he had an image probably in his head that he was trying to transmit, like the evil necromancer, which was a little very white-skinned kind of vampire-y female. He had an image in his head. I don't think I ever quite got what he wanted, but it didn't seem to matter. He accepted what I had done. But
that's being very specific about the gender of the creature is odd.
Yeah, the genders. I thought that was teenagers. It said male or female.
Really?
It didn't matter.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
As teenagers, I wouldn't have shot in front of a car, probably. It doesn't.
Could have been more than one that he was thinking of. I don't know. Sorry. The only other thing that I have is I have a list of various different creatures, and they all have initials, either John Perard, me, or John Jude Palancar. And they're in front of the different creatures. And there's, he had I can't find it. He had a plus sign or a 1/2 indication. And I'm trying to remember what it just meant. I'll have to, you forget about that, and I'll have to find the other piece of paper. But it had it was like I forget what it's called when you make a little. You decide that 1/2 equals just text, or
like a legend.
Yeah, it's like a legend, but for some reason, and I looked at them all and I tried to figure it out. I knew which ones I did: typographical terrors and Mother's Little Helpers. I have no idea what Mother's Little Helpers are.
Some of these were renamed, I think.
That must be it, because that's drawing a blank. Anyway.
Would you be willing to send us photos of any of those sheets of paper, or is that too much to ask? Because I'm kind of curious.
Sure. I would
That
be
first
happy.
one you were talking about is very interesting.
Yeah. In fact, that whole sheet.
Okay, so 1/2 equals no text, 1/4 equals no art, and plus equals no text, no art. So this is the one that you probably want. And it just says, JT, that's me, plus. That meant that no text, no art. So I didn't make those, but I actually did make those. So I don't know.
You know, it sounds to me like he's talking about layout.
Yeah, it sounds like a layout.
Layout, some
How
sort
the
of.
page is going to look, kind of
Okay,
thing.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Great.
it could be the half, because some of them are full shots of the sculptures or full page drawings. Some are half page. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Like the first page of the
That's-
small businessman is just like this much of the bottom of the page of a picture, and then
Yeah.
the back of it is the full picture of him at the steps.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Because I, like I said, I never read the book. So I equate layout.
It looks like this.
Yeah.
No, when I was looking for stuff yesterday and talking to Ben, I found a copy of the book.
Yes.
In my bookshelf that's right here, you know.
Is yours signed by Byron?
No, there's no
Somebody bought one signed by Byron like 15 years ago for $20.
Wow.
And that's the only one I've ever seen that isn't from someone who found a cast that has one signed by Byron.
Really.
I have a book that's signed by Byron, but it's not a secret book. It's called Making Soft Toys and Dolls.
He put out that book?
No, he didn't. He thought I might like it. It
Right,
said,
right.
I thought this might be of interest. Byron.
That was Byron. That was Byron.
He was very thoughtful. I was telling Ben that one day he I guess he knew at the time I must have mentioned wind-up toys. He said, okay, I'm going to take you someplace. So he took me to this store called The Last Wound-Up
Yeah.
on the west side, maybe
West
on
side.
Columbus or somewhere. I don't know.
Columbus Avenue, I think.
And he got me these two wind-up
Having trouble.
So now this is a private detective, you know, so it's a secret. And this is a dinosaur, which was his other wonderful book that he had done. So that was really nice. He was very kind.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other very well, but, you know, we worked together. So it was very thoughtful.
One of the questions that we had in here was, what was your favorite memory of Byron?
For me, it was going to that last Wound-Up. It was so very kind. It was so touching that, you know, for no reason at all, really.
Ben's going to come up with something like, well, Byron punched me in the face once.
Byron was not a violent person whatsoever. I mean, I have a couple of things. I mean, taking my kids and his kids at the time, driving out to Coney Island. In fact, George owns a print of mine, The Wonder Wheel. He loved Coney Island. And I said that once on a podcast. It might have been the first one. Of course, everyone starts saying, well, do you think he buried something in Coney Island? I have no idea. I always say that. And you know what? On a Saturday, Sunday, he and Sandy and his kids and my kids, we get together and go to a diner called the Jackson Hole up on Madison Avenue and 92nd Street, have a burger. Just sit around, French fries. He always came to my apartment with a couple of comic books for my kids. I mean, like always. Never did he ever come here without a comic book. My grandmother came with cake. You know, he came with comic books. And just, you know, and we went to bookstores with him. And, you know, he was just a very, very dear friend who, it's all fond memories. You know, I don't have any bad memories. I have some very good friends. I have a few. I better end it there, actually. But he was just a great guy. And he was a kid. He was, I mean, if there was a room of adults and there were kids in the room, he'd go over to the kids. And he did a lot of great books for kids, you know, way before his time. He did all the celebrity books, you know, Seinfeld and Paul Simon and Joni Mitchell. He did a children's book with them. He loved kids, and he helped kids a lot, especially in Philadelphia. When he was still in college, he wrote a whole comic book for kids so they could learn how to read.
Yeah, he was way ahead of his time when
Way
it came
ahead
to
of
kids
his
on
time.
all
Way
fronts.
ahead of his time.
Like the video games that he did, way ahead of their time.
I never heard of Pac-Man, and then I went to his house in Long Island once during the summer. I got to show you this new toy, Pac-Man. I'm going like, what the hell is Pac-Man? You know, and my kids were like addicted to it so quickly. It was like, you know.
But he was doing those choose your own adventure stories also. That's how I think I got involved, because at the time my boyfriend was working on those.
Those choose your own adventure books,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
I was addicted to them. I would check
Yes.
if they were in the library, I would check out each and every one and go on an adventure
Uh-huh.
in those.
I guess you could say you would
I would
choose your adventure. Hey,
choose
Brett?
which way, or my adventures choose me, Cole.
Sure.
Um,
Let's see. The only other question that I had in here was, I guess since you guys didn't know even casks were even found, I was curious if you knew about the other translations for The Secret. Did you know that your work was translated into Japanese?
Yeah.
Twice?
Yes, I have a copy of that.
Of which one? Because there's two.
Is it
Did you
really?
know there's-
Are they different?
Yeah.
Like from each other?
Yeah. Kinda. Hang on.
Really?
Yep.
Well, here's my copy right here. This is my copy.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's quite a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two different books, two different covers, two different. It's not an ISBN, but two different numbers. The only thing that's really different in them is the flyleaf, like the cover page. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Text of the book's the same, but actually, the entire text of the back of the book was left out. It's just
Well, mine's
But
signed,
the pictures and stuff are
mine's signed by the Emperor of Japan now.
nice. Mine's signed by John Jude Palancar. I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Well, it was really fun working with everybody, even though I hardly got to see them. But well, I promise you, I know nothing.
That's fine.
Nothing.
That's fine. I'm getting that. I'm getting Ben probably knows nothing. John probably knows everything.
Yeah, he probably knows everything.
I really don't.
I could get up on him. Anyway, thank you for having us on your podcast. It was really fun. Really appreciate it.